HBO's Succession is one of the most popular television shows on today, a show that highlights the various problems within a capitalist society from the perspective of the ruling class. This may sound surprising to you. How can a show from the perspective of the 1% properly dismantle problematic systems like capitalism? Well, it's worth exploring the ways in which Succession fails and succeeds at criticizing this controversial institution. For a first example of a scene we can analyze, let's look at this popular scene from Season 2, Episode 9, in which Logan Roy and his company are under fire at a Senate hearing for covering up a controversy.
I'm certainly not going to argue with Mr. Emerson.
Your cruises run for profit, your news runs for profit. Is that any way to keep the lifeblood of a democracy going by using news as your own personal ATM? What I'm getting at, is it any surprise that exploitation and cover-up runs rife at your cruise division? I mean, exploitation is at the heart of your business model.
One of Succession's greatest strengths and most praiseworthy elements as a show is its phenomenal writing. The show effectively uses witty retorts and niche references to further characterize the Roy family and many others they run into. In this case, the diction the show utilizes comes from the character of Gil Evis, a Bernie Sanders-esque politician hell-bent on bringing the Roy family down. His sharp words illustrate a brutal point. The Roys and their business thrive off of exploitation. Gil's words represent the ideas of many about our current economic system, and it serves as a direct critique of the system we live in, giving the viewer a chance to think about our current world and how media may be exploiting us. Unfortunately, the extent of that critique ends there, because the scene continues.
Well, I would of course disagree, but
Mr. Kendall Roy, then tell us about these shadow logs.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairwoman, can I speak for a moment? Because, I'm here in good faith today. I'm very willing to talk you, Senator, and this committee through our operations, but let's cut the BS, shall we? Because it seems to me that this investigation is not about proper oversight of the cruise industry codes and standards or some highly regrettable but isolated incidents from nearly 2 decades ago. What this feels to me it's about is your personal dislike of my father and your ideological hatred of his newspapers and his news channels, and in particular of the success story, which is ATN, on which you've appeared, I think, 14 times in the last 4 months, Senator.
Good.
Senator Evis, it seems to me that since you don't agree with us ideologically, that nothing we can say will be enough, no groveling will be low enough, and as much as you like to accuse us of bias, today you're the one with the bias. So I say go ahead. Hit us as hard as you can. We can take it. We have nothing to hide.
The show's critique of capitalism mere minutes before is now rendered almost completely null, as the show gives the spotlight to who could probably be considered the main character of the show, Kendall Roy. Kendall Roy is the bad guy in this moment. He is defending his corporation and family from wrongdoing by knowingly lying and shifting the blame. Despite this, we root for him, because we are familiar with him, and his portrayal is meant to be sympathetic and triumphant. For example, in that last scene, just look at how it starts. Kendall Roy cutting off Gil Evis to make his point. Or, look at how it ends. The show cuts back to Gil Evis after Kendall is almost finished giving his speech, and he looks dejected, defeated, like Kendall Roy won. These are intentional decisions the show makes, and in doing so, they perpetuate ideologies like capitalism. And this is at the root of Succession's problem. Succession has its cake and wants to eat it too. it has the critiques of capitalism and yet continues to promote it through the way it displays certain scenes. Kendall is clearly a flawed character within the show. That's not up for debate. But at the end of the day, we are still meant to root for him and the others, which translates to us ruling for the elite class and them maintaining their power.
I hate to say this because I love you, but you're kind of evil.
Don't talk about things you don't understand.
Well, you're smart. But what you've done is you've monetized all the fucking the American resentments of class and race.
I thought I was just telling folks the weather.
You've turned black bile into silver dollars.
Oh, you just noticed, did you?
This scene is another example of diction that the show uses, though in a much more nuanced way. Throughout this entire encounter, Kendall Roy, who wants out of the business, throws critique after critique at his father Logan and his abhorrent business practices. Kendall is, once again, meant to be the good guy here, with his father being the absolute personification of evil in this scene, constantly belittling and insulting him, bringing up traumatic events from his past in order to get under his skin.
Pay up and let me out. I don't want to be you. I'm a good guy.
How long was that kid alive before he started sucking in water? Couple of minutes? 3, 4, 5? Long time. 2 minutes. What were you even doing? Chasing a bit of tail? Hey, are you queer? Did you try to fuck him? Or was it just the drugs?
I'm better than you.
So, through this diction, Logan Roy is characterized as the epitome of evil, and Kendall Roy is once again the good guy. The show paints Kendall's rhetoric in a positive light. His dad's business of exploiting the news for personal profit is wrong and evil, and we are meant to agree. This scene has no contradictions to this point, unlike the earlier discussed Senate hearing. However, a contradiction comes in the form not of any choices made by the showrunners themselves, but from the show's existence in the first place. Succession is a show produced by HBO, a television network owned by Warner Media. HBO produces the show not with the idea of entertainment value primarily, or for the purpose of critiquing capitalism, but for the purpose of profit, as with all other corporations in a capitalist society. Without profit, a company cannot exist. While this is a contradiction to the show's message, it's far from damning. What is damning is taking a look at some of the other subsidiaries of Warner Media. Lo and behold, CNN, one of the most popular television networks globally, is owned by the same parent company responsible for producing Succession. Succession, a show meant to critique the idea of exploitative media for the purpose of profit, is partially funded with the money coming in from one of the world's most mainstream news organizations. CNN, being a left-leaning news organization, may be more familiar to the idea of critiquing capitalism in the same way Succession is. At the end of the day, both uphold the society that keeps them thriving, as the show reinforces the dominant narrative of capitalism. Succession is a brilliant show with brilliant writing that I continue to be entertained by and laugh at. Will I stop watching? No. Do I want the show to end because it's an inherent contradiction? No. Is it still worth recognizing that the show, despite its surface-level critiques of capitalism, is in fact greatly benefited by it and partakes in the very thing it puts on blast. Absolutely. Succession is not inspiring anyone to make any cultural changes. In fact, it encourages complacency. We see what the Roy family and their company are responsible for, and yet we continue to root for them. So at the end of the day, despite Succession's successes and its critiques of our society, it manages to fail where it counts: the real world.